Hello, this is Tom with the Tractor Rescue Ranch. I'm going to mill up a few 2x4s here today. I've got a friend that needed a few, and so I got things fired up here. Kind of have a mess with all this snow melting. I'm getting water down in my sawdust pit. When things thaw out this summer, I'm going to have to dig a ditch out there so that all that runoff will go around the sawmill. There's really nothing I can do about it now, but I'll have to get that done next summer so that the water will go around the pit instead of into it. So I'm just going to fire things up here and mill a few 2x4s. Okay, I thought I'd just tell a little story here while we're watching the sawmill run. I've mentioned some of this stuff, but where I got my love for these sawmills comes from my father. And when I was a little kid, I don't know how old I was, probably 5 or 6 years old, maybe even a little younger than that. My father went and purchased an old circular sawmill, and he bought it from Utah State University. That's the agriculture college, and part of their ag college back then, they had a sawyers program for the forest industries. And so they originally had that old sawmill as part of their curriculum for their forestry department, and they had quit using it. I don't know, to this day, I'll bet they don't even have a forestry department anymore. I don't know. But Dad went and purchased that sawmill from him. It was all rotten and everything, a lot like mine was. Wasn't in as bad a shape as mine was, but he rebuilt the whole thing and put it back together and started using it. And as a child, I worked hand in hand with him. I loved going out and working on the sawmill with my father. That was my favorite thing to do. And so I got a real good first-hand experience just as a young kid. And then when I was a teenager, I remember being his off-bearer, pulling boards off the mill for him when I was a teenager. And then as we went on, Dad had powered that sawmill with a big Hercules motor. And that Hercules motor lost a piston, and Dad didn't have enough money to go ahead and rebuild that or buy a new motor. And so that was the end. When I was in my teens, that was the end of his sawmilling days. He tore that motor apart, and that Hercules diesel, he couldn't find a replacement piston for it. And so it just never got rebuilt, and it sat for years and years. And finally, I guess it was scrapped or something. Dad sold the place. And so anyway, that's where I got all of my love for sawmilling. And so I was able, as an older individual, to do the same thing, buy that old sawmill that you've all seen the videos about, and rebuild it. My only regret is my father passed away before I started this project, and I sure wished that I could have been sharing it with him all this time. But that's what we'd done, and wanted to kind of put all of that story together in the one story. I hope you enjoyed it. Well, I got things finished up there. I cut 2 logs and I got 13 pretty nice 2x4s out of it. That's more than what he was wanting, so I got plenty. There's a few with a bunch of weighing on them that we'll just set aside, but pretty fun day at the sawmill. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe.